What if I told you that the evidence and the strategies you need to compete with some of the best-selling products in your market already exist and it's just hiding in plain sight? Well, for today's video, I've collected over 2,800 real user opinions from forums and reviews and socials and videos, all about one best-selling product. And I'm going to show you how we can use those opinions to understand what's working, where the cracks are, where the opportunities are, and we're actually going to make a competitive product strategy. But first we need to understand the product we're competing with, and that product's the Helinox Table One. It's a 670 gram portable camping table, it can hold up to 50 kilos in weight and pack down to the size of a water bottle, and it assembles by snapping together all these aluminium legs, and it's been one of the best selling portable camping tables for over a decade. So we need to understand why, what was the product strategy that led to all that success, and what do all those opinions in the community say about it? When I'm thinking about product strategy, this is a really easy way that I like to break it down and map it out. The first layer we've got is the space, and this is the broadest space that the product exists within. And for the table, it's the outdoors. And then every product can be fitted into a niche, and a niche can be broken down into three core components. We've got who, where, and with what. So who is the person using the product? What do they need? What are their requirements? What is their relationship with the product? And for the table, it's people who are spending a lot of time outdoors, who really care about the gear that they carry. Then the second component is where. So this is the environment or the situation that the product's used in. This allows us to think about the problems that the environment would bring up. So for the table, it would be anywhere where there's no permanent furniture. So think about campsites, festivals, on a beach, or maybe out on a walk. And then the third component is with what. And this is the core principle that the product is kind of built around. So that could be a material, a technology, maybe another product. And for the table, it's these DAC aluminium alloy frames. And these are the poles that make the frame for the table that snap together. And of these three principles, one of them does a lot of heavy lifting. And by that, I mean, if you took it out of the equation, a lot of the problems that have been solved that define the product would just disappear. And for the Helinox Table One, it's with what? So it's these DAC aluminium alloy frames. Because if you took them out of the equation, you wouldn't have to worry about the lightness, the portability, the strength. And a lot of the problems that you solved that define the product would just disappear. This is those 2,800 opinions that I mentioned earlier, except they've been turned into findings that we can actually use, all backed by real numbers and real quotes. And it's actually a pretty simple example of what I deliver to the clients we work with at Beyond Thought. But if you want to see what your community's saying about your product, there's a free tool in the description. It'll give you one free real insight and it takes less than 60 seconds. So once we know that with what is driving everything, the product strategy kind of follows on from there. It's all based around this one core idea of making a table that's as lightweight as possible, but performs like a table that's 10 times its weight. And the findings in the dashboard actually confirm this. So if we look at this chart here, you can see that weight and portability is by far the most discussed feature. It's also got a really high net sentiment score as well. And then there's this finding here about someone who's keeping the table permanently in the back of their car because it packs away so small, and another person who bought it without even seeing it because there's no products that can compete on the weight. Then focusing a bit more on durability, there's someone who's had it for nearly 8 years of daily use and called it the most useful camp table they've ever had. And because this product's so light and packable, people are taking it in situations where they otherwise normally wouldn't take a table. So the community isn't just saying that this product's light, they're actually saying that it massively outperforms its weight. But when weight and packability is driving the focus so much, yeah, that's a massive strength, but it also has a downside as well. For example, because the table has to be so light, it means it has to be small. And if we look at this finding, it shows that the size means the usability of the surface is actually quite limited. And then because it's so light, stability becomes a problem. Here we can see that some in the smalls a knock, or even a dog's tail or a bit of wind can knock the table over. And on soft ground, the feet actually just sink. So there's people who are cutting up tennis balls, 3D printing disc feet just to stop it sinking into the sand. And then there's the surface, because that also has to be light, it means it has to be fabric. And in these two findings, there's discussion about it sometimes melting when it's cooked on, food stains not coming out, or even boiling water permanently discolouring it. And people are buying silicone toppers and cutting boards just to make it work for cooking. So there's clearly a gap between the problems that users are buying the product to solve and the problems that Helinox actually designed the table to solve. And then there's a finding about the price, where some people think that the product's far too expensive and others think that the product justifies the more premium price. But they're not actually arguing about price, they're arguing about value. And a really easy way to think about value is the price divided by the number of problems that the product solves. So for group A, where they really want a lightweight camping table that's packable and super strong, the number of problems that it solves for that group of people justifies the price. But for group B that are more bothered about cooking cooking, sitting around the table, eating on it. Well, the number of problems that the product solves doesn't justify the price. But not for a moment do I think that not solving those problems is a mistake. I actually think that Helinox's product strategy to focus on lightweight, portable and strength is actually what led to the success of the product in the first place. But what I do think it highlights is an opportunity for us to have another look at that niche. So if you remember, there was the three principles. It was who, where and with what. And at the moment for the Helinox Table One, the dominant constraint is with what, which is the DAC aluminium alloy frame. But I think what's quite obvious from the findings is that there's a big group of people who aren't benefiting from the problems that focusing on the dominant constraint solves, and that maybe for a competitor product strategy, there's an opportunity to shift the dominant constraint to a different principle within the niche. So for the Helinox Table One, where was anywhere where there isn't permanent furniture. So that would be a campsite, a festival, on a beach. And that means that we're not designing around being the lightest, but instead we're designing around the situations and the environment that the product's actually going to be used in. And we can see from the findings that the niche does actually want an equivalent to the Helinox, which is easy to cook on, easy to eat off, better to sit around. They need a table that adapts to different activities. It needs to be able to handle unpredictable outdoor conditions like wind, rain, and uneven terrain. It can't sink, it can't blow over. But this isn't just a normal camping table either, because Helinox have proven that you can have a portable camping table that can sell for a premium price. So we don't want to just throw that away. You want to maintain how easy it is to pack away, how easy it is to assemble, that premium engineered feel. So there we go, that's two slightly different product strategies. The Table One starts from weight and strength and portability and works from there, whereas this is focusing a lot more on the situation and the environment that the product's actually going to be used in. It was the same community, the same 2,800 opinions, and it shows what you can do quite quickly with community-driven product research. If you want to learn how you can do more community research in your own brand, there's actually a link to a free tool in the description. It takes about 5 minutes to complete and it'll give you a full breakdown of where you're up to and a blueprint of what you can do to go forward.